Vale Mike Dube.
Ubani obekwa waba yiprefect yona mnqango?
Honorable Dube.
Mr. Speaker, order, Mr. Speaker.
This is Honorable Dube.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
Talk like that.
Order. Order, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Can I request that everyone mute your mics, please? May we have a silent prayer or meditation? Thank you. Let me acknowledge the Honorable Speaker, Honorable Boyce, Honorable Premier Kuzeni, and the members of the Executive Council, Honorable Chief Whip Nxamalala and the Whipper, the Chair of Chairs and the Deputy Chair of Chairs, the Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable members and colleagues, good morning and welcome to the special sitting. On obituaries, honorable members, it is with profound sadness that we formally note the passing away of members of the Senior Citizens Forum and also members of the Senior Citizens Parliament. And they are listed as follows: Ms. G. Magwaza, who was the chairperson of Ulundi Municipality and Zululand District; Ms. M.N. Mtimkulu, former chairperson of Indumeni Local Municipality under Umzinyathi District; Ms. Z. Zulu, coordinator in Umtubatuba Local Municipality; Mr. Tim Gobozi, chairperson of Ilembe District; Ms. N. Makoba, former chairperson of Ingutu Local Municipality; Mr. Keswa, chairperson Mtubatuba Local Municipality; Ms. A. Shintuli, chairperson Alfred Duma Local Municipality; Mr. P. Nene, deputy chairperson Ugu District and chairperson of Umzumbe Local Municipality; Ms. Ntombizonke Pindile Mtabela, representing the NFP; Inkosi Nkanyiso Mncube of Mbogodweni Traditional Council. Inkosi Mncube was killed with his uncle in a hail of bullets when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle they were traveling on the R68 in Babanango. Mr. Mbulaheni David Malata, African National Congress and Umkhonto Wesizwe veteran, who passed away at his home in Makonde village outside Thohoyandou in Limpopo at the age of 67. Mr. Malata, who was affectionately called Peter Dambuza, took part in various battles, including the South African Defence Force Matola raid in Maputo in 1981 and the Sibasa operation also in 1981. Malata was a member of the mayoral committee in the Vembe District Municipality. He was also the head of the portfolio committee for planning. Mr. Wilmot Sibisi, father of Nomusa Gina, KZN Legislature Procedural Services, and Mr. Bongani Sibisi, former Chief Operations Officer of the legislature, who was laid to rest on Saturday, the 22nd of August 2020. Asithandile Kwasa Zozo, a 19-year-old student of the University of Witwatersrand, who was allegedly stabbed to death by her boyfriend for refusing to be with him. Constable Thandekile Promise Skakane, who was gunned down in Thembaletu Road, Ezakeni, B section, on Tuesday evening, August the 18th. Mr. Sibusiso Joseph Mkhunu, the Richmond local municipality mayor, who passed away on the 13th of August and was laid to rest on the 18th of August 2020. 6 young women from the south coast in Umthwalume who were allegedly murdered by a serial killer. Mr. Mark Jack, Northern Cape MEC for Education, who passed away on the 12th of August 2020 and was laid to rest on August 2020. Struggle stalwart Mr. John Katimeng, who died at the age of 93, this selfless and courageous stalwart made an immense contribution to South Africa's democratic liberation. He was bestowed with the honor of Isithwalandwe at his home in Kew last year. Mr. Katimeng had been among the 156 Congress activists who were detained during the Defiance campaign in 1952 and charged with treason in the 1956 treason trial. He went into exile, taking refuge in numerous neighboring countries. Anti-apartheid activist Mr. Devadas Paul David, who died of natural causes at his home in Ngwaduguza. He was 79 years old. Mr. David was a hero, struggle veteran, icon, legend, and the last surviving member of the Consulate 6. Prince Mandla Zulu, a half brother of King Goodwill Zwelithini Isilo Samabandla, who passed away late on Wednesday, the 5th of August 2020. Prince Mandla, the son of King Solomon, A. Bindini Royal House, was also a national executive member of the IFP. The prince's death comes at a time when the monarch was still in mourning after two princesses, Nobuhle and Busi, who lived at Mbelebeleni Royal Residence in Ngwamashu, Durban, passed away in quick succession. Our condolences go to the families of road fatality victims in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in the recent past. And on behalf of the legislature, I wish to request members of the legislature to remember all those that have succumbed to COVID-19 pandemic in your thoughts and prayers. Let's not forget to salute and thank all our and related fraternities for their continued dedication and diligence towards their work, despite the challenges that their disciplines bring. They are indeed true heroes and heroines. In the same breath, let's also put our members, staff, and their families in our prayers, and all those affected and infected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As members, we must continue to encourage people in the spaces around us to observe and adhere to level 2 disaster regulations applicable to South Africans. The COVID-19 pandemic is still very much with us, Let us observe a moment of silence in honor of our faithful departed. May the soul of our faithful departed rest in peace. On announcement, honorable members, on ruling on virtual sitting, honorable members, you are reminded that this virtual sitting will be conducted in terms of the rules for virtual meetings, read with our existing standing rules. In terms of Rule 6 of the rules for virtual meetings, the quorum requirement for virtual sittings of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules of the KZN Legislature. Standing Rule 44 of the standing rules provides as follows, I quote, at least 1/3 of all the members of the legislature must be present to constitute a plenary meeting of the legislature, close quote. The rules for virtual meetings also define present as follows. Present means the attendance of a member in a virtual meeting by electronic means in a manner that allows the member to join and participate in the meeting. The Secretary has confirmed that we have the required 1/3 of members present in order to commence with the virtual sitting. The sitting is therefore properly constituted. On party voting, Rule 7, subsection D of the rules for virtual sittings also state that, I quote, the presiding officer must, before or at the start of the discussion on the matter, expressly inform members if a party vote will be taken, close quote. In line with the above, I confirm that the debate on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27, a version B28, and the voting thereon will be done on the party-by-party basis. A party vote is a collective vote on behalf of all members of a party present at this virtual sitting, up to the total membership of that party in the sitting. However, I will allow honorable members an opportunity for an individual member to vote differently from his or her party or to abstain if any member wishes to do so. We will now proceed with the rest of the matters on the order paper. On apologies, honorable members, we have received the following apologies. Honorable Mr. N. Dombela is having an age and commitment. Members who are not well is Honorable Mr. S.E. Mangele and Honorable Mr. M.E. Pagati. Newly sworn in member, I would like to welcome a new member to the House. She is Ms. Zandile Ruth Telma Kumete, who will be representing the ANC. Honorable Kumete was sworn in on the 19th of August 2020 in the office of the Speaker. At this point, honorable members, I will invite the Honorable Premier to table any announcement, if any. Honorable Premier. Honorable Premier.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, thanks for the opportunity you've given me. We would like to make the following announcements. The first one related to opening of schools. The province of KwaZulu-Natal welcomes the smooth reopening of schools, which saw the return of all grades back to school. We can confirm that also all teachers that were expected did indeed report for duty. It is important to mention that about 5,970 teachers had applied for leave based on comorbidities, and 1,400 of that have been referred for health risk management, while 4,475 were granted. Learners from grade R, grade 1 and grade 6 were expected to return, and they did return. As expected, there were few challenges relating to water and sanitation, mobile classes and furniture in some schools. However, these are being addressed. With regard to the issue of COVID-19, following a surge in COVID-19 cases, we saw KwaZulu-Natal reaching a peak. The average daily infection rate is now at 198 cases per 100,000 population, which is a dramatic improvement from 309 per 100,000 cases. We are very clear, however, that these statistics, as they show a downward trend, but they must not lead us to embrace complacence. And we must always be serious about following the safety measures that have been put in place. We wish to deeply register our deep concern about the gruesome murders of women that is happening in Umthwalume area. And we want to assure the members of this House that this is being attended. We recommend and we commend the law enforcement authorities for moving with speed in investigating the cases and the arrests that have taken place in the area. We know that there are a number of activities that have taken place in that particular area, and we know that the civil secretariat for SAPS from Pretoria is also currently visiting that area, and the Minister of Police will be there on the 26th of August. The Department of Social Development have briefed all 5 families of the deceased and have debriefed all 5 families of the deceased, and is continuing providing psychological support services to all affected families. Honorable Speaker, with that, I thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Premier Siyabonga Khuzeni. On tabling, honorable members, we want to read to the record the following tablings. Under the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature Budget Performance in Year Monitoring Report for the month of July 2020, under the Office of the Premier amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, under the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, KZN Film Commission amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, Moses Kotane Institute amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-21, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, Dube Trade Port amended Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, Lamesi Joint Venture Property Investments Amendment Annual Performance Plan 2020-2021, Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone Company amended annual performance plan for 2020-2021, Gaming and Betting Board amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. KwaZulu-Natal Liquor Authority amended annual performance plan 2020-2021. Ezemvelo KwaZulu-Natal Wildlife amended annual performance plan 2020-2021. Tourism KwaZulu-Natal amendment annual performance plan 2020-2021. KwaZulu-Natal Growth Fund Trust amended annual performance plan 2020-2021, and Itala Development Finance Corporation Limited amended annual performance plan. Under the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Department of Cooperative and Governance and Traditional Affairs amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. Under the Department of Education amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. The Department of Transport, Community Safety and Liaising amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. KZN Community Safety and Liaising amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. Under the Department of Sports and Recreation, amended annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2025. Under the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, Agribusiness Development Agency annual performance plan 2020-2021 and strategic plan 2020-2024. Under the Department of Treasury revised annual performance plan 2020-2021. Under the Department of Human Settlement annual performance plan 2020-2021 to 2022-2023 and revised strategic plan 2021 to 2024-2025. Under the Department of Social Development revised annual performance plan 2020 and 2021. And lastly, the Department of Public Works amended annual performance plan 2020 and 2021. That concludes the tablings. We will now invite the Chief Whip if there are any formal motions or notices by the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, for giving us the opportunity. Deputy Speaker, there are no formal motions and notices. Thank you very much.
Honorable member.
Speaker, on a point of order.
Yes, Honorable member. What point are you raising on, Honorable Richards?
Thank you, Speaker. I rise on Rule 102, which is matters of public importance. Just to inform you that the DA has submitted in writing a request to your office to call for a debate in terms of 102 at the next sitting of the House to deal with the negative publicity that surrounds the province and the COVID-19 expenditure. That was submitted in terms of 102.2 to your office, and I'm raising it in that light. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rogers. That is noted, and it will be dealt with accordingly. Honorable members, let's proceed to item number 7, orders of the day, and 7.1, debate and voting on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, Bill 27, version B 2018. We will now request Honorable J.S. Nxumalo to present a report as the Chairperson of Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27, version B 2018. You have 5 minutes, Honorable Nxumalo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier Phuzeni, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Honorable members of the Legislature and officials, good morning, Molweni, Sanbonani. In terms of Section 42, subsection 4 of the Constitution, the National Council of Provinces represent provinces to ensure that provincial interests are considered in the national sphere of government by participating in the national legislative process. The National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27B 2018, which is a Section 76 bill in terms of the Constitution, was referred to the Premier's Portfolio Committee in terms of Rule 241/1 during the 5th Parliament. The Premier's Portfolio Committee received a briefing on the bill and conducted public hearings with relevant stakeholders within the gaming and betting industry. Furthermore, the Premier's Portfolio Committee submitted a negotiating mandate and final mandate to the NCOP Select Committee on Trade and Industry, Economic Development, Tourism, Employment and Labour for its consideration. In the 6th Parliament, the function of gaming and betting has been moved from the Office of the Premier to the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. Hence, on the 22nd November 2019, the Economic Development Tourism Portfolio Committee received a briefing on the National Gambling Amendment Bill 2018. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Select Committee is requesting a decision of the Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee as to whether the committee wished to study the process of the National Gambling Amendment Bill afresh by conducting public hearings to the relevant stakeholders within the gaming and betting industry and submit a new mandate, or alternatively support the Premier's Portfolio Committee final mandate of not supporting the bill and abstain from casting a vote. The committee met on the 21st of August 2020 and agreed to abstain from voting on the bill, subject to the proposed amendments and principal issues raised by the Premier's Portfolio Committee being seriously considered by the Department of Trade and Industry prior to the final and voting mandate being conferred by the House. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the majority members from the different political parties within the Portfolio Committee resolved to abstain from voting on the bill in its current form, except one member from the DA who resolved to vote against the bill. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the committee recommends that the legislature must confer authority on 1, the KwaZulu-Natal provincial delegation to the NCOP abstain from casting a vote on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27B 2018, at the relevant NCOP Select Committee, and 2, the head of the provincial delegation to the NCOP or a delegate designated by the head of delegation to abstain from casting a vote on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27B 2018, at the plenary. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, this is the report of the Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee's final mandate on the National Gambling Amendment Bill, B27B 2018. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Nxumalo. Siyabonga Mkhatshwa. We will now proceed to Honorable B.M. Zuma from the African National Congress. You have 7 minutes, Ngqamalala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier and the Executive, Honorable Members, good morning. Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, gambling in South Africa has been heavily restricted since 1673. With South African's Gambling Act of 1965 officially banning all forms of gambling except betting on horse racing, which existed as a sporting activity. During the 1990s, there was a spate of illegal casinos operating within the country. When the new democratic government came into power, all forms of gambling was legalized. Regardless of the establishment of the National Gambling Act of 1996 and subsequently the National Gambling Act of 2008, we must say that the sector remained untransformed and monopolized. The previously disadvantaged communities were not accommodated fully by this acts. Honorable Speaker, passing the and amending laws form part of the continued struggle to transform South Africa into a non-racial, non-sexist, united, democratic and prosperous country as we continue with our objective of building a national democratic society. Deputy Speaker, we must note that this bill is being considered for the second time. And the fundamental question that we should be asking ourselves is, what has changed so far? We believe that nothing has changed, but our task today is to confer the final mandate as per procedure. Again, as the chairperson said, that the portfolio committee members shared the similar position of view. It is important to note that the National Gambling Bill seeks to legislate the thinking of the government in terms of why the gambling should be regulated and why the National Gambling Regulator should be established. May I remind members that when the commission came with a set of principles which were to be utilized as the barometer for the national gambling policy as entrenched in the Act. These principles include, among others, the uniformity and harmonization of policy and legislation at all spheres of government, economic empowerment of the historic disadvantaged, promotion of economic growth, development and employment opportunities. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we must note that an intensive consultation process was embarked upon regarding this amendment. Firstly, the Cabinet approved the national policy in 2016. Furthermore, with this policy was subjected to the public consultation processes and stakeholder comments. Some of the mechanisms utilized for public consultation included written submission and consultative workshops, to mention a few. Subsequently, the National Gambling Bill was drafted and approved in 2016. The public hearings for this bill were conducted from the end of September 2016 until the early 2017. In July 2018, the National Gambling Bill was gazetted and introduced to Parliament. The National Assembly adopted the bill in December 2018 and is now awaiting the province's final mandate. Areas of concerns which were, coming from the consultation processes, including the issue of the provinces having concurrent competency on the gambling matters. The second one was on the issues related to transformation. In the previous version of the bill, there were amendments that dealt with the enforcement of transformation, which we think is fundamental, but is not is lacking in this current bill. on horse racing industry regulate, Section 44B establishes a self-regulatory body for the horse racing industry. Our concern is that this self-regulatory body is currently not regulated by the provincial gambling boards. Therefore, this will also have a negative impact on the rural horse racing industry. There are clauses that we are supporting fully, including clause 3 and clause 12. We also support the establishment of the National Gambling Regulator, which will play an oversight role that includes setting norms and standards, ensuring compliance, monitoring trends of industry performance, managing national registers, and advising the NGPC. Additional powers to the National Gambling Inspectors are provided for in Clause 40 by the section 76A. It affords them powers that they may act with or without provincial inspectors in investigating illegal gambling activities. This is for those cases where the provincial inspectors are not available to accompany the national inspectors. Honorable Chair, as the Chair already said, whilst there are many good points that are raised in this bill, it is our considered view that we must not support it for adoption in this current form. Therefore, we recommend that the concerns that were raised by the Portfolio Committee, Premier Portfolio Committee, should be first considered and dealt with before we support the bill. As ANC, we support the final mandate presented by the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ngamalala. Right on time. We are proceeding to Honorable P. Govender from the IFP. You have 5 minutes, Honorable Member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to take part in this very important debate. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the National Gambling Amendment Bill B27B of 2018 seeks in the main to reconfigure the National Gambling Board, which will now become the National Gambling Regulator and will be led by a Chief Executive Officer without a board structure. Even more concerning for us as the IFP is that the National Gambling Board will no longer be independent, but rather a trading entity of the Department of Trade and Industry. It must be noted that this is completely opposite to the provincial licensing authorities, which operated independently and with appropriate boards in place. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the IFP has always favored a decentralization of power, arguing, and quite correctly so, that provincial and local authorities are best suited to dealing with the individual economic and socio-economic needs and challenges that are present in their specific provinces. The IFP advocates for such devolution of power in which the provinces are established as the primary government of the people. This system encourages policy differentiation and competition amongst provinces. In the proposed amendment, it appears that there is little scope for input from civil society and the public in general in respect of license applications. As this board migrates to a regulatory authority under the DTI, it must therefore reconsider the past approaches that strangled the growth of the South African economy. One such being the limited licenses available to all provinces for casinos. The call for increasing the number of licenses. May I continue, Deputy Speaker?
Yes, please continue. There was just an echo.
Okay. The call for the increasing the number of licenses is justified as casinos, with their resorts, contribute in some cases to the highest revenue brought into provinces. Furthermore, its attraction brings about international and local tourists into our country, and more so into our province, which develops the supporting and value chain businesses such as catering, accommodation, and leisure activities. Given that the COVID-19 pandemic has strained our economy and more specifically our tourism industry, we need to identify those industries that contribute most significantly and start adding licensing capacity to our most rural areas with a vision for increasing rural development. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we need to give more emphasis on developing the economy of rural areas and thereby raise the living standards of communities across our province. Whilst I say this, we need to be vigilant against the proliferation of bingo and other gaming machines in public spaces. These machines, if uncontrolled, will be accessible to children, and that is not a desirable situation. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are also concerned about the number of inspectors that we have within the Department of Trade and Industry, as well as within the Department of Economic Development. Without proper inspection of these facilities, we will run into a problem of antisocial behavior, which might even lead to higher levels of poverty within our communities. We are also concerned regarding this bill, Honorable Deputy Speaker, about the regulations around the withholding of winnings from our people, because this is not clarified to the extent that we would like it to be clarified. Honorable Deputy Speaker, should the National Gaming Regulator become a reality, the IFP would like to see the process of appointing a CEO is done in an open and transparent manner. There should be an independent selection panel which will interview prospective candidates and recommend the most appropriate person to occupy that position. Whilst I say this, we need to ensure that people who have the necessary experience, the necessary qualifications, and people who are of integrity that will occupy the position of the CEO as the National Gambling Regulator. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the IFP is in favor of voting on this bill as contained in the final mandate, and we will abstain from voting in favor of this bill. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We are proceeding to Honorable De Boer from the Democratic Alliance. You have 4 minutes, Honorable Member.
Good morning, Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our former nemesis, Honourable Zandile Gumede, to the legislature. If reports are to be believed, she certainly had some fun times in eThekwini, and we do wish her luck with her pending court case. Sincerely, we pray for justice to prevail. Personally, I think that the ANC has put R1 million on number 11, and it's instead gone to green number 0. But let us move on to the business of the day, Honourable Speaker, that being the National Gambling Bill. And in essence, it's a bill that was rushed through the 5th administration in the lead up to the national elections. And it was perhaps an attempt by the ANC to say, look what we have done. But now it's dragged over into the 6th administration in any case. Essentially, it is a bad piece of legislation. Public participation in the true sense of the word was sketchy and dominated by stakeholders in the casino industry, who of course have their own agendas, and a lot of those agendas have got to do with revenue. When we deal with relatively new industries such as gambling, and as the Honourable Chief Whip has said, gambling was not permitted for many, many decades, you don't approach this kind of legislation in a piecemeal fashion. You approach it from a holistic and from an all-encompassing perspective. So this is especially important when we look at new industry, and particularly new industry where there is a potential for empowerment and where it's very easy for people who are formerly disadvantaged to get involved in the industry, and that is online gambling and online gaming and betting. And this is an industry that's proliferating at an enormous rate at the moment within South Africa, and this bill makes absolutely no attempt to regulate it. Instead, we are told, certainly at a national level, that if we want to stop the winnings of people, if we want to stop people from actually participating in online gambling, then we must stop the internet and close down the internet. So, of course, this is a nonsensical approach to the actual industry of gaming and betting, and we cannot approach it from a perspective where simply all the items and the concerns of the online betting industry certainly are not taken into consideration. Honourable Speaker, some provinces have given very detailed submissions on this particular bill, and if we look at them, they are the Western Cape, which is by far the leading province in terms of regulation and forming policy, and then we have Gauteng, which is an ANC-led province, and they have put in a very substantial motivation why they will not be supporting this particular bill. And I think that at this point in time, KwaZulu-Natal has elected to abstain, which is not an entirely bad decision to make. At least we're not supporting it. But to confer the mandate to our NCOP representatives to abstain on this bill means that in essence, KwaZulu-Natal has no voice in whether they support it or not. Now, the Honourable Speaker that was before me from the IFP raised some very serious concerns. We also have those concerns. Even the Honourable Chief Whip has had some serious concerns about this proposed bill. And why we continue to say that we will just abstain on this matter when quite clearly the legislation is flawed, it actually beggars belief. We as a province and one of the top 3 gambling provinces within the Republic of South Africa need to have a firm say on what goes on. And we need to be clear about what we're saying. And it's simply not good enough that we go to the NCOP with all of these concerns, with issues like gaming and betting in communities that are potentially destructive to people's livelihoods, and also the lack of empowerment initiatives that are absent from this bill. But also, Honourable Speaker, if we just look at the issue of online gaming and betting, which is just flourishing without any kind of regulation, it's simply not contained in this bill. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Right on time. Honourable members, we are proceeding to the representative of the EFF. I just want to put it on record that we have received notification that Honourable Serge is having a challenge of connectivity. But unfortunately, when we are trying to communicate with the leader of the EFF for an alternative, we are not finding Mr. Twala over the phone. We will then skip the EFF while we are trying to connect with the leader of the delegation. We will then proceed to the MF, Honorable Esther Kure Rashbanj. You have, before that, Honorable Mlotshwa, you have 1 minute from the NFP.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Am I audible, Deputy Speaker?
You are audible, Honorable Member.
There goes Lord. Deputy Speaker said the NFP acknowledged the bill with concern. However, the insertion of Section 10A in Act 7 of 2004, a register of unlawful operators. As the NFP, we suggest a thorough investigation by the Competition Commission with the Department of Trade and Industry to deliver to the National Gambling Regulator of exactly how much illegal earnings obtained on each unlawful gambling operator on the list. Insist on full payment of earnings before they can obtain a license after 5 years. The NCEMS would enhance the oversight.
Unfortunately, your time is up, Honorable Member.
Shame.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Yes, I can allow to Mlotshwa.
We are proceeding to Honorable Takure Rashbanj from the MF.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The amendments to the National Gambling Bill are progressive in nature, with emphasis to the board to regulator. However, the MF has serious concerns regarding the time it would take to complete this transition and the cost of implementation. Furthermore, the period of 5 years to remove illegal operators from activity is too harsh, and the MF believes the intention is to regularize gambling activities. Then this period should be reduced to 24 months. The current economic markets are failing, honourable members, so these regulatory efforts need to correct market failures, especially the negative impact of the illegal on the licensed operators. Hence, a balancing act is required. Overall, this bill has reached as far as disallowing bad practices to persist, but more work has to be done in terms of social responsibility, and the MF would like to see more amendments to maximize social welfare and minimize social costs if it has to embark on its real work of real regulation. Hence, the MF supports the abstention with these inputs. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Right on time. Honourable members, let's note that we have received an apology from the ATM as well as ACDP, who will then as such proceed to the African National Congress. Honourable ZLI, you have 7 minutes.
Honourable Premier, Honourable Speaker, Honourable members and the people of KwaZulu-Natal, I would like to send condolences to everyone who have lost their lives due to COVID-19. I would like to also express my gratitude to my organization, the African National Congress, for the opportunity it has bestowed in me to be part of this debate. Honourable Speaker, let me firstly start to deal with Honourable Debru's misbehavior. Honourable Debru, please stay in your own lane. Stay away from the politics of the African National Congress, because we hardly speak about the things that you do as the Democratic Alliance. Currently, the Western Cape is run by a racist, which is known, who's forever on Twitter talking about her racist ranting, and we hardly ever speak about it in this legislature. So kindly give us a bit of space.
There is no racist.
Honourable Speaker, we are also very disappointed by Honourable Debru's utterances when it comes to this debate. He's trying to lecture us.
Speaker.
Let's take an order. What point are you raising on, Honourable Member?
Thank you, Speaker. I rise on Rule 50 to determine whether the green in the background of the Honourable Speaker now on the screen is an ANC green, or is it just coincidence? Thank you, Speaker.
That's not an order. That's not an order. Order, Rochas.
Tula Duma.
Continue, Honourable Member.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Debru's argument was defeated in the Portfolio Committee. So it's not going to also win on this one, because majority of members of the committee chose to abstain, even the ones that are not part of this debate today, Chair. Honourable Speaker, it's quite interesting to see that honourable members of this House, for the first time, they have chosen to defend the people of KwaZulu-Natal, and they have unanimously decided to reject this bill. Gambling is a taboo form of entertainment in our communities, as we are aware that it has a capacity of destroying families and societies if it goes unchecked. That was the thinking behind the amendment of the National Gambling Act of 2004 in the 5th Parliament. Accordingly, all legislative steps were followed for the bill to be amended. In the 6th term, the Portfolio Committee of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs held a special meeting on the 21st of August 2020 to deliberate on the final mandate of the National Gambling Bill. All parties in the meeting took a decisive decision that KwaZulu-Natal would abstain from the voting, except for the Democratic Alliance, who came out and said they will outright reject the bill. Amongst the reasons that made the Portfolio Committee to confer the mandate of abstaining, as it was done in the 5th term by the KZN legislature through the decisions of the Premier's Portfolio Committee, is going to be outlined shortly. Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks to address various challenges that were identified as hampering the effectiveness of the National Gambling Act of 2004. The bill focuses on enhancing existing gambling activities and no new gambling dealings are introduced. The bill further gives expression on the policy proposals aimed at reviewing the gambling terrain in South Africa. The bill's proposals are premised partly on the Gambling Review Commission's reports from parliaments on the Gambling Review Commission's reports, stakeholders' engagements, benchmarks, and excursions conducted. The bill therefore amends the National Gambling Act 2004 as to amend and delete certain definitions to provide for the procedure of the forfeiture of unlawful winnings to National Gambling Regulator, to provide for the dissolution of the National Gambling Board, to provide the establishment of the National Gambling Regulator, to provide for the appointment of the Chief Executive Officer and Deputy Chief Executive Officer in the National Gambling Regulator, to provide the powers of the National Inspectorate to cap payments and emanate for illegal gambling activities, to enhance the powers and duties of the gambling inspector, to provide the transactional arrangements and to provide for matters connected therewithin. The Premier's Portfolio Committee subsequently had a briefing from the Department of Trade and Industry and Administrator of the National Gambling Board in terms of Rule 241(1) of the legislature of the 5th on the 5th of February 2019. The committee then resolved to hold 3 public hearings on the 19th of February, 28th of February, and the 22nd of February 2019 at Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal's legislature's main chamber, Ugu Sports and Leisure Hall, and Newcastle Town Hall. The public hearings on the bill were widely advertised in the KwaZulu-Natal legislature's website. The print media, the relevant stakeholders in the gambling industry were directly invited to attend and submit submissions. Copies of the bill were distributed to all municipal districts and were also made available during the hearings. A call for written submissions was open until the 10th of March 2019, and only one was received. Then, Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the submissions, agreed that there are substantial comments which were valid and of importance. They needed to be addressed as proposed amendments at the Select Committee. The committee met on the 12th of March 2019 and agreed to abstain from voting on the bill, subject to the proposed amendments and principles issued raised above being seriously considered by the Department of Trade and Industry prior to the finalization of the voting mandates being conferred by the House. However, the committee noted with surprise that the Select Committee in its minutes only considered what was on the last page of the committee's report. Honorable Speaker, the committee was concerned about the confusion created by the reference of the National Gambling Amendment Act 10 of 2008 in the B version of the bill, whereas the long title reflects the bill as the amending and the National Gambling Act 7 of 2004. From the minute, it was never explained to the committee's disappointment. Further, there was no explanation why the committee's report was never dealt with and considered in its totality. The committee further notes that none of its proposed amendments from the provinces were considered by the Select Committee. The committee resolved to unanimously abstain from voting on the bill in its current form, Chair. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You were right on time. We will now invite the Chairperson of Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee to respond to the debate. Honorable Nxumalo Mkhatshwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker Siwa and honorable members. I think the thrust of the matter here is that the principal issues that were raised by the Premier's Portfolio Committee in the previous term be seriously considered, as other members has actually alluded to that. Hence, the majority members, as I have indicated, we decided to resolve to abstain from voting on the bill in its current form. And I must say that there is a consensus, Honorable Speaker, on the issues and concerns that are raised by all political parties without exception, including the DA, because even the DA, the issues that are raising are equally our concerns as other political parties. The only difference between the DA and other political parties is that the DA has opted to vote against. Hence, our mandate to the NCOP is to abstain from voting. And therefore, I think now the ball is on the shore of the Department of Trade and Industry to look into this matter before the final decision is taken. And thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Siyabonga Mkhatshwa, siyabonga Sihlalo. Thank you, honorable members. We have now come to the end of the debate on the National Gambling Amendment Bill B27 version B 2018. The House now needs to confer a final and voting mandate on the bill. As per the request of the Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee, I now put the question to the House as follows. The KwaZulu-Natal legislature agrees to confer authority on 1. The KZN provincial delegation to the NCOP to abstain from casting a vote on the National Gambling Amendment Bill B27B 2018 at the relevant NCOP Select Committee, and 2. The head of the provincial delegation to the NCOP or a delegate designated by the head of the delegation to abstain from casting a vote on the National Gambling Amendment Bill B27 version B 2018 at the NCOP plenary. Voting on the mandate, those in support of the mandate authorizing the KZN provincial delegation and the head of the provincial delegation or his delegate to abstain from casting a vote on the National Gambling Amendment Bill B27 version B 2018. I will now call upon on each party to indicate its stand on the issue. I will start with the IFP.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Demand.
Honorable members of the legislature, the IFP supports abstaining from the bill in its current form.
Siyabonga Mtemande. Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Speaker. The DA opposes the bill and would like it recorded. Furthermore, we will not be calling for a division, so we can proceed, and I will save the House time.
Honorable members, can I put it on record that the EFF has tendered an official apology in writing? But let me just check if there is any member of the EFF that has joined us. EFF? There is no one. We note their apology in writing.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
Yes, we noted the bill, Deputy Speaker.
Okay. Is that the EFF?
Yes.
Okay.
Swisomthetho.
Oh, what is your position?
No, we noted the bill, Deputy Speaker.
Do you support abstaining or you reject the?
We just noted. We noted.
I
just
noted.
Nyambose, it's either you support the proposal to abstain or you reject the proposal in totality.
We support the proposal to abstain.
Let's proceed, honorable members, to the MF. Honorable Rashbanj.
Yeah. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Minority Front supports the Portfolio Committee in abstaining on this bill, especially with the shortcomings that we have noted in our debate and the input that the MF has made. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We must also note, Honourable Members, that there was an apology of the ACDP as well as ATM. We will then proceed to the African National Congress.
Honorable Speaker, the ANC supports the proposal to abstain. Thank you.
Honorable
man.
The NFP, my sincere apologies, Honorable Member.
Speaker, cha thina sisupport ukuthi ku-abstainwe wesomlomo. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga mfowethu. We have already recorded the position of the ANC. Members, I have the votes of all parties. Is there any member who wishes to express an individual vote that is different from their party vote or to abstain? If there is none, Honorable, yes, Honorable Member.
DA demand.
Yes.
Support show demand.
Akuzwakali njengane DA logo.
Stay in your lane, please.
Order, Honorable Members, order. Order. If there is none, Honorable Members, Secretary, can I ask for the tally of the votes?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The voting results are as follows. Votes in favour of the proposal to abstain from voting on the bill is 55. Votes against is 9. Abstentions, none. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Honorable Members, I therefore formally declare that the results of the vote are as follows. Votes in favour is 55. Votes against 9. Abstentions, none. It is recorded that the mandate authorizing the KZN provincial delegation and the head of the provincial delegation or his delegate to abstain from casting a vote on the National Amendment Bill B27B version B 2018 is supported. That concludes the debate and the sitting for today, Honorable Members. I just want to take this opportunity and thank all of you for your attendance, for your participation, and for your meaningful contributions in the debate today. The meeting is adjourned, Honorable Members.
Thank you so much, Somlomo.